This episode of the Siam Hockey League News is brought to you by the Big Chili Magazine, where in this issue there's a great article titled Bangkok's Notorious Mass Killer Charles Sabraj Shocks BBC Audiences in The Serpent. So we've just finished off Week 10 in the SHL, and we had some really good games.
These were probably the closest games, or some of the closest games we've had all season. And they were really, really well played top to bottom. I was very pleasantly surprised to see how well offense, defense, and goaltending played for the most part. We had talked about in the prior week how coming off of this long extended break because of the pandemic, because of the holidays, guys might have showed some rust. But I think really just from a fan perspective, enjoyment-wise, these were really, really exciting games.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I also think that the shifts that the executive committee decided to make really, some of it paid off, not to the fullest potential, but I mean, as we'll get into the first game, we'll talk about that, more of that. But yeah, I think in the long term, they're gonna, as the new skaters get used to, or as the skaters get used to their teams and the new skaters get used to the ice, it's gonna make a big difference.
Yeah, I certainly heard some of the commentary from players about which teams, I should say, got which players, and so on. But, I think it should be, as you say, exciting to see how the new guys gel with their new respective teams.
Well, yeah, I can understand that. We'll go ahead and get into the first game, and we'll talk about one of those moves. In our first game, we had the Novotel Spitfires facing off against KCG. Now, KCG picked up Peem from Aware, and they also picked up Patrick Forstner because Corey Day is supposed to be coming back. Now, these were to replace Matty, who is pretty much done for the season just because he's got some things he has to take care of on the personal side, and also Yari has been injured. So they got Peem and Patrick Forstner. Now it's a little bit tricky there with Patrick Forstner because I don't know if you heard what was going on. Patrick is a full-time skater until Yari comes back. Now, if Yari comes back, Patrick will be done. The assumption is Yari's not going to make it back till after the playoffs. So, again, he's got to get used to his team and stuff like that. But it should be interesting to see what happens.
He's obviously a player with a lot of talent, has a lot of upside. So I'm looking forward to see, as you allude to, how much time he's got and how he can gel with his new team.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, it was just a fun game to watch. I mean, both teams were missing some key players, but Novotel scoring the first goal in the first period. Scotty Hockey gets the first goal with the assist coming from Stephen Sproule. Two veterans of the SHL.
We were just talking before the video started. These guys are some of the best in terms of experience in the league. They know what they can do. They know what they can't do. And they pick their spots really well. They do the little things like get some takeaways in the offensive zone. That's what Stephen Sproule did. He fed it to Scotty, who was in good positioning right in front of the net. He picked his spot, and he scored.
It's always fun to watch Scott play. Like, if you give him a little patch of ice and then try and poke check the puck away from him, he's got some hand. He doesn't have the speed anymore. I mean, but he's got hands. Like, I've seen him beat guys in the matter of 5 feet. That just by stick handling, it's just amazing. And for him to get a goal in this game made me really happy.
Sure. That experience, that touch comes with literally decades on the ice, and knowing what he likes to do. And fortunately, we don't have those exact stats, but I would wager a guess if you looked at his shooting percentage compared to a lot of the other guys who, shot on goal. I would wager a guess that Scotty's got a higher scoring percentage, I should say.
I think he does because, I mean, he picks his shots. If he thinks he doesn't have a shot, he's going to set somebody up. As a matter of fact, knowing Scotty the way I know him, he'd rather set somebody up than take the goal.
He's a very selfless player.
Yeah, definitely. And then less than a minute into the second period, we had Jan Isaksson for KCG picking up their goal.
On the power play, yep.
On the power play, which was assisted by Punn and Patrick Forstner. So
there you go. Immediately in the first game, getting a chance to get on the score sheet. And I liked this goal from a commentary perspective because it's just doing the small things. If you have an offensive opportunity, you're in the offensive zone, you're on the power play, you win the faceoff,
yep.
You get set up, and you pick your spot and you score. And that's pretty much what happened here. You had a good shot from the point, and I can't recall offhand whether it was a rebound or a redirection by Jan, but it's just doing the smart hockey play, doing the things that your job that you're supposed to do. And it's frustrating sometimes to watch some of the other teams and whether situations where they're trying to come back or you see that they have the potential, they have the opportunity, but they just can't quite put the pieces together, whether it's they miss the face-off or they are pushing a little bit, and we'll get to that later. But this was a good goal all around from my perspective as the commentator.
Well, it's difficult because you get guys who are really good at stretch passes, and not everybody should do stretch passes, okay? But you get guys who are good at stretch passes, and the ice was wet this week. So those stretch passes, unless they're saucer passes, are going to really struggle on wet ice. You know what I mean? It slows them down, makes them stop, stuff like that.
And taking nothing away, these guys are all talented, skilled players, but there is a skill level, too, of receiving that pass. Because what happens to a lot of guys is they're ready, but it bounces a bit too hard off their stick, and it gets into a takeaway. Another thing you see might happen is you have a guy with some space, and instead of maybe dumping and chasing, taking a simple play, they might try and deke around 2 or 3 other defensive players, and more often than not, it kind of just muddles the play up. And a few stretches as a commentator, I have to say back and forth. I can't tell you who's got the puck because possession-wise, every 5 seconds, the play changes.
Yeah, that happens also.
So point being is just, as a viewer, these guys have talent, they have skill, but I think that they could do a better job themselves of putting their teammates and putting their team in positions to be successful with the simpler play, with the smart play. You saw so many times in this week's games where guys had beautiful cycling, nice passes, and then they did the same thing over again. And I'm like, guys, just put a puck on net. Like, you're not going to score without a shot. And then furthermore, when you are shooting, where are you putting the puck? Is it into the chest of the goaltender, or are you picking a spot? Are you looking for a rebound? Are you looking for a deflection? Are you trying to get a screen in? You know, these are little things, and it's easy to play armchair quarterback, but I'd like to see those adjustments, especially from the captains and from the veteran guys. People like Scott, you know, why is he effective? Because he picks his spot. He knows what he should do. And if you had some of the veterans, the guys with some experience, encouraging the younger players, saying, hey, you know, this first period didn't really work for us this way. Why don't we try it doing this style? I know some of the opposing goaltenders have talked about their opponent on the opposite side saying, hey, you really should pick this quadrant. He's not really strong, high glove. I've played against him for 2-3 years. Try this. And then in frustration, he says, I told my guys this all night, and they didn't listen to me. You know, there's a reason that he's giving you that advice, because as a goaltender, he's got a different perspective that you don't necessarily have. And I wish these guys would pick up on that advice, pick up on that assistance.
Well, we've got a lot of new players in the league this year. So you hear the advice, but you also want to do what's worked for you in the past. And this league, being the most competitive league in Thailand, everybody's game kind of steps up. So the new guys, all of the new players, they kind of got to get used to that.
Sure. It takes some experience. An excellent example from this game is Mengkorn. We've talked about him before. You've seen his growth in the last few years of where he came into the league, like a lot of these young guys, being very confident in their skill, being very confident in their speed. He'd run up the ice, he'd try and deke around 3 players, and more often than not, you know, he
tried to do everything himself.
He still has all of that skill, but he's combined that now with some experience. He's combined that now with a bit more team play.
He's opened his eyes a lot.
And you see it in the score sheet. I mean, I believe he's a top 10 player.
And number 7.
There you go. Number 7 in points
4
this
goals,
season.
6 assists. So
part of that comes with the talent on the top end of his team. I mean, look at the stat sheet that we have for the SHL players. Of the top 10...
Okay, well, if we just look at the Novotel Spitfires, so you've got Mike Friesen, Ken Kinborn, Tom Stastny, Mengkorn Phasukkjwatana, and that's just in the top 10. Okay,
and each of those guys are scoring at a point per game or a 2 point per game clip.
Yeah,
I mean, this is It's just beautiful hockey to watch.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Mike Friesen with 13 goals. He's got 20 points. You've got Ken Kinborn with 17 points. You've got Stastny with 15 points. And then you've got Mancorn with 10 points.
Too, yeah.
And it's just
Mancorn. Yep. Like I
really
said,
good.
we talked about it earlier. What do all those guys typically, outside of obvious skill, what do they typically do well? Stastny and Friesen especially are constantly back-checking, constantly looking for opportunities to put their teammates in position to be successful. When they do shoot, they're picking their spots. They do miss the net every now and then because they're going for the edges. They're not shooting right into the chest of the goaltender. Now, if your team has a crash-the-net style, you're trying to get rebounds and greasy goals, that's fine, right? But these guys know their skill. They know that they can try and pick their spot, and more likely than not, instead of, hitting into the chest and not really much coming up of it, it might miss the net, but they're not losing possession. Or a lot of times you can see the clip there, they're scoring. Friesen is scoring at a better than a goal per game rate.
13 goals in 10 games. Absolutely. It's I wonder if he's going to go for the record. I'll have to look up and see what the record actually is. I'll do that off the air.
Sure.
And we'll talk about it next week. So it'd be fun to see.
Back to this game specifically. Overall, really exciting hockey. Both defenses and both goaltenders really showed up in this game.
They absolutely did, which ended up forcing us into an overtime period.
Just give a lot. We haven't said their names once, but Kleinische and Liao, man, they were tracking the puck so well that I knew some commentary was because Kleinische had been playing
goaltenders in the league.
Practice before this with the youth hockey, and they were saying, "Oh, maybe we can try and jump on him tonight because he's had a little work." No, it didn't.
He was on form.
It was on, and both of them really were.
Yeah.
It went down to the wire all the way to OT, and short way of only about a minute and a half into OT.
You've got Christoph Anliker setting up Tom Stastny, so it was actually a beautiful shot. He dropped it back to the point. Stastny wound up and just rifled it past Liao. Great goal.
And it was really pleasant to see Anliker there competing and getting the assist on that goal. He's been gone for a long stretch because of injury, I believe.
Yeah,
in his first 2 games back, he's immediately made a contribution to his team, helping them win 2 games here now, and well-deserved got player of the game.
He got the Rolling Stone Pizza Player of the game, and here's me with that interview. I'm here with the Rolling Stone Pizza Player of the game, Christoph. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. With a short of breath, as you can probably hear and see.
It was quite an intense game, very fast-paced.
Yeah, I fully agree. Good team, great team. So we're a lucky bounce at the end, so yeah, happy for the win.
How's it feel coming back after so long off of the ice?
Yeah, glad to be back. Nice to be around the guys again. Yeah, luckily we have a good team, so I was not really missed. But yeah, glad to be back.
Excellent. Well, congratulations again.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thanks. Thank you very much.
And in our second game, we had Siam Mandalay facing off against Aware. Aware got a really big player in Kim Arola, and he's got to get his feet underneath him. But I think this is one of the best games that Aware has played all season. You don't see it on the score sheet. I'm going to say that right off the bat. You don't see it, but they really did play like a team.
I would agree. It's so tough for these guys because it feels like no matter what, something's going to go wrong, whether it's emotions or, coming out a bit rusty. Mm-hmm. But just the execution in this game wasn't quite there on the offensive end. Defensively, and especially a huge shout out to Lance and Net, really keeping his team in this game the whole time. Unfortunately, at the end, got a little farther away on the score sheet, but the score did not reflect.
Stopped 28 out of 32.
The score did not reflect the quality that he put in this game and how close it really was.
Right. I would agree with you 100%. One of the problems with Aware in this game is, although they had shots, they had a lot of shots, they weren't going to the net, they were being stopped by Siam Mandalay's defense or back-checking forwards, or they were putting the puck right into Dream's chest. So they're not, I don't know if they're, like you said, they're trying to get the greasy goals. Well, they need to find ways to make the shots pop off of Dreams pads, you know, or they need to pick their shots a bit better, one way or the other, or get more people in front of the net and get deflections.
And communicate.
Absolutely.
Where's the communication, right? If that is your strategy, which is a valid strategy, works for a lot of teams, you got to talk about it. You got to say, hey, this is where I like to set up. I'm right-handed, I'm left-handed, whatever it might be. Hey, I see you on the rush. I know that you really like going up the left point, right? If you're going to be there, I'm going to try and be here. Let's work on this. And that's little things that come, between shifts with some experience, right? And I heard some of the veteran players talking about some of these elements, but again, it's not quite there execution-wise. Part of this, I personally believe, is because they have an unfortunate tendency of getting behind early in games, and this causes them to press a little bit. You see their high-skilled players looking for that, stretch pass across the ice, trying to get a cherry-pick goal.
Or trying to go coast to coast.
Trying to go coast to coast and deke around 2 or 3 defenders. But as I talked about in the prior game, it's more about the little things. If you're down in a game, yes, of course, push back, try and get that goal and tie the game, but it's even more important to not put yourself at a deficit, to not put yourself in a position where you're giving the puck up too easily, you're not maintaining possession. The less possession you have, that's more opportunities for your opponent to score, more opportunities for your opponent to keep the puck out of your areas where you want to be successful.
Well, I think they did well in the first period.
Sure.
I mean, first and second period. They were the best 2 periods. Although Siam got a goal right away in the first period with a goal by Jordan Ashton, which was assisted by Mike Wilson. Aware didn't give up after that.
No, they did not.
They kept fighting. They kept playing. And as a matter of fact, in the first period, about halfway through, you had Roger receiving a pass from Masato to tie things up.
Exactly. The people talked about with the addition of Kim, they thought, okay, well, let's switch up the lines a little bit. We'll have a tie line. And I think overall, they played well. A lot of skill on that line, a lot of speed, a lot of young talent there with those 3 players. But as we talked about, it's a bit more of execution and about putting your team in a place to be successful. Masato's got so much speed, but he often will just try and deke around several players. I'd really appreciate to see him just do the bit of the simpler play, dump and chase. You've got the speed.
Which he did in the first 2 periods. He absolutely did do it. I can remember I was sitting up at the score table with Yohani, and we were both impressed with how Masato was actually passing the puck in the first and the second period. And you can't take anything away from Aware in those first 2 periods. Sure, they were down by a goal. I mean, Siam Mandalay scored their second goal with Tan Limpemped, a shorthanded goal, which was assisted by Turner Johnson. That didn't put them on that, oh my God, I have to do it all myself.
Yeah.
So
you did not see them panic.
Absolutely.
Which has happened before.
Yes, it has.
So
yes,
give them,
it has.
I totally agree with you. Give them some credit for responding, for continuing to play well throughout the remainder of the first and the second period. I will just note it's tough to be on the power play and in the final 2 minutes of a period because those goals are always backbreakers and really hurt you setting up for the following period with the momentum. But anyway, continue.
And then we go to the third period, and through 75% of the third period, they were still playing strong. Now, maybe they just got tired. I don't know. Maybe Lance got tired. And then Siam Mandalay got 2 goals. We had Mike Wilson scoring a goal off of an assist from Tan again. Yep. And then Tan closing things off with less than 2 minutes left in the game. So
Mike was missing last game, and he's very talented back-end player. He's got excellent speed. He's a solid offensive defenseman, and Tan has really had his game develop over the course of this season. I would say his name each week. He does a good job of doing a lot of the small things we've talked about, but it's really in the last few games had him come up and be productive on the score sheet.
Yeah, he totally has. And it's fun to see. Tan is one of those players that I've seen from the early seasons really develop into an all-around hockey player as the Siam Hockey League has moved on.
Yeah.
So, and I know it helps with him playing on the Thai national team as well. So he's one of those guys that's fun to watch.
The way he played, he makes his line mates, other Thai line mates, that's another team that has a Thai line and a foreign line really well. And just briefly before we get into Tan, the foreign line, it's really been exciting in the last few games to watch the Crash line.
Yeah,
they have a lot
great.
of talent. They're really good. Just like in the prior game, we talked about Novotel doing things like back checking. doing things
they
like
never give up. That was one of the things that in the third period that myself and Johanni was so disappointed at with Aware. They would miss a play, or they'd lose the puck, and they just kind of would be like,
yeah, here we go.
Whereas the crash line, well, all the players on Siam Mandalay, if they missed the puck or they missed a play or something happened, they were turning around, coming right back into the play.
They didn't take themselves out of the play too many times, and it's an easy thing to do, right? You're down on yourself, you made a mistake, but you take yourself out of the play, and you put your team, and especially your goaltender,
essentially on a shorthanded situation.
Exactly.
So
why make it harder for your team and for yourself? And it's little things. Not only do you come back, is your stick in a good position to maybe block up that pass or block up that shot?
Yep.
Is your body in good positioning, right? Or conversely, are you screening your own goaltender, right? So
which happens sometimes, yeah.
Some of these things can happen. I will also say one final thing before. You can't control the refereeing, but there were some missed calls. You and I both looked at each other out of blatant interference and say, what are we supposed to do about that? And this is tough, right?
It is tough.
We don't have professionals, right? These guys are coming out. They're doing the best job.
They are trained referees.
I mean to say, we're not this is not a professional hockey league, is what I'm trying to say.
But we do what we can with what we have. And
you can't let those things hurt you, because that's another thing where you see some of our teams, some of our specific players, they let the things that they cannot control get the better of them.
Yeah. Which is Aware has been notorious for.
So all I'm going to say is, hey, you played well. You control the things that you can control. Don't hang your head on this one.
Yeah.
This was a great game. You were inches from being there. It's just the little things about execution. I talked about it earlier. So many really beautiful cycling plays, and then just didn't shoot the puck.
Yep.
Or if they did, it was right into the center of James' chest. And you're there. It's just about doing that little thing to get over the hump, so to speak.
And I think as Kim gets used to his team and his line mates, I think that's going to make a big difference. So, but the goaltending was really good by Dream.
Yeah.
So
we should talk about it.
Absolutely. Dream stopping, although he only had 19 shots, he did play a good game. If he wasn't there, there would have been more goals scored. So he earned the Rolling Stone Pizza Player of the Game.
Again, we say, you just put him in his chest. Why was that the case? Because he puts himself in good positioning. He's tracking the puck really well, and he makes it look simple.
Yep. So and here's me with the interview with Dream. I'm here with the Rolling Stone Pizza Player of the Game, Dream. Congratulations.
Thank you, guys. This game is a bit tough for us, but in the first period we tried to make a score. And another team get a really nice player. One come from Finland, and our team be a bit panic, but not much. And still our team play well, really well. At least we don't have Patrick, and still good. We're waiting for Corey Day. Maybe we're gonna better. If they're watching, please come back.
All right, well, congratulations again.
Thank you, Carl. Okay.
All right, and here's Maddie with the Jerky Monster Play of the Week.
What is up, my fellow SHL enthusiasts? This week's Jerky Monster Play of the Week goes to Tan for his sweet snipe on his breakaway goal. Your Jerky Monster is waiting for you with Dom. See you guys next week.
Okay, and now next week, this is another makeup game, February 21st. We have in our first game, KCG versus Siam Mandalay.
A couple weeks ago, or a month ago or so now, I guess, Siam got the victory in that game, right? So
they did?
I think it's going to be interesting. KCG's been a bit up and down in the last month. They started out really strong, just this one loss to Novotel and the second loss to Novotel, and they've had a couple hiccups.
Yeah.
We've talked about the fact that they've got so much talent on that team, but it just feels like they kind of take their foot off the gas a couple times. So I'd really like to see them come out, play a full game, let their stars produce, right? Because they don't necessarily I know they do a lot of good things. They don't necessarily come up on their score sheet. I'm calling you out, Captain.
And Jesse.
Line mate as
well.
But
I'll tell you what, Jesse, he's one of those guys that he will bust his ass going up the ice to be in the play. And he'll be one of the first guys to get back to help out on defense.
Yeah, this is what I
every
mean.
time.
I was being a little facetious. Those guys, they might not show up on the score sheet, but they do all of the things as a spectator, as a coach, that you want to see.
Absolutely.
They back check, they forecheck, they try and put their teammates in positions to be successful. So just like to see them try and get back into the win column with a complete game.
So with Siam Mandalay losing Patrick, what do they need to do to win this one?
Honestly, I would say continue to do what you've been doing recently. They're playing as a full unit. Mm-hmm. They support Dream really well. Their forwards have great forechecking, and the depth on that D-line, it is a quality back end on that team. Yep. So if all the guys show up, play to their capability, I would expect them to continue rolling.
I could see that. So KCG, they just need to get their top players to actually get on the score sheet.
And play a full game. Don't
game.
let your foot off the gas. They have so much talent on that roster. It only takes one little bit of play. The other team gives you a giveaway, and you got Harrison or Jesse with a chance at a breakaway, and they can put it away, right? The tie players on that team, you got all the young, quality tie players on that team with a lot of speed.
Plus picking up Patrick.
And Pat, of course, we haven't even talked about the new addition of Patrick.
Picking up and Peem.
And Peem as well. Peem's played a pretty good season, pretty good season so far. So
I'm going to say, because of picking up Patrick and picking up Peem, I'm going to give the win to KCG.
Okay. I can see that. I think it's a fair statement. I would expect another quality matchup between these two teams, a tight margin. I'll say it's probably going to be a one-goal game decided in the third period, if I had to guess, because both of these teams
it'll definitely be.
Very
it'll
well.
probably come down to the last half of the third period, at a guesstimation.
Sure. Exciting.
So in our second game, we have Aware going against the Novotel Spitfires. Let's get this out of the way. I predict Novotel is going to win because they're my team, and whenever I see them play, I pick the Spitfires. And I think it's going to be a typical Spitfires game. It's going to be 1 to 2 goals win, a 1 to 2 goal win. But if Aware can win this game, what do they need to do?
Oh, it's a tall mountain they're trying to climb there. Just because, why do we talk about Novotel so much? Because they've been playing as a team from day one. You give a ton of credit to the leadership on that team, leading by example. I will add, just doing all the things right. And conversely, for Aware, their leadership has done what they've done. You gotta keep messing with the lab, so to speak, right? If something's not working, all right, try something different. But also loop your own guys into the mix. Communicate about what it is you're trying to do. Make in-game adjustments, right? Mm-hmm. We've talked about a lot of the talent on that roster. I mean, you look on paper at that roster. How many times have we said this? And It is an excellent roster.
Well, let's go through their roster. We've got the number 1 rookie in the league, Roger. You've got John Sheknovsky. You've got Justin, Brandon. Amazing defense in Roman. You have a great tie skater in Masato, who is starting to turn into an all-around offensive player. You've got Devin Michael, David Bohr.
Great grinder
there. You've got a tie grinder in Arno. You have Dennis Omelka.
I say his name. I just want to say just really briefly about Dennis. I say he doesn't necessarily show up on the score sheet, but I say his name every week. He does an excellent job of clearing pucks, starting the play from behind his net. He's got really good vision, and he has an active stick, gets a lot of good takeaways. And then Kim, obviously a new addition.
The new addition, Kim Marula, who I expect big things from. Maybe not in this game, but it is his third game, so it's possible. And then the
statesman of
tie hockey, Tor. And then from Jaren, they've got the talent. They absolutely have the talent.
Roster. If I was from the outside looking in, building a team, without knowing anything about, too much about this season and what's come to pass, this is a great team top to bottom. You've got balance, you've got grinders, you've got offensive talent. It's just about, as we've talked about, putting these little bits and pieces together, not letting your emotions get the best of you, not, pressing too much and saying that my talent is going to push us over the edge when the smarter play would be to pass it to one of your line mates, to dump and chase, instead of having a beautiful set of cycles, what's the smart play? Put it on net, look for rebounds, look for deflections, try and get a screen, go for the top corner, go for the bottom corner, go for the 5-hole, not just center chest, you know?
So I think for Aware, in my opinion, for Aware to win this, what they need to do is they need to take Roman, and they need to put Roman always be on the ice when Friesen is on
Shadow
the
Friesen.
ice.
I think
Friesen.
that's a great point. And you got to be careful because Stastny can beat you just as easily too.
Oh, absolutely.
So I would say,
I'm not
Sure,
taking
sure.
anything away. So,
but I'm just saying it's a double there. So all I'm trying to say is that I would agree with you with Roman and then Roman and Friesen. My
Yep.
question is, who would you put then on Stastny?
I would put Dennis on Stastny.
Dennis, okay.
Okay, and then I would put Arno on Christoph.
Okay.
And then that will open up Masato and Kim and Roger to start to get some plays going.
I can see that. I can see that for sure. And I would tell them all, if I'm the leadership on that team, hey guys, right, we love what you're doing. We had a great game last week. Keep it up. But some of these little things, if you do take yourself out of the play, hey, you gave it up or whatever it might be, don't hang your head. Get back into the play.
Get right back in the play. Make that quick turn, stop, take off, get back in the play. That's really important. I think that's what eventually killed Aware in the game last week. So
should be exciting though. It's going to be a good game, I feel like. With Novotel, you never know. Sometimes they're just like, hey, guys, I feel like we're going to score 5 tonight. We're going to score 6 tonight, and it can happen. But, Lance, to his credit, he always plays hard. Just another brief fun one for Lance. He had some players getting in his grill this past week, and
Yes,
he
he
let
did.
him know that he did
Absolutely.
not like it. So I love to see
that's when
him.
he plays his best.
Exactly.
When he's got that fire. Yep.
So, Lance, keep it up. It's fun to watch you play from the commentator booth, and I'm just waiting for your squad mates to put it all together and to get back in the win column. I've got one. Double your victories, guys. Let's get it again. Knock off the king. Can they do it?
I think it's possible. Although I want to see the Spitfires win, but I think it's possible if they find a way to neutralize Friesen, Christoph, and Stastny.
Let's see it.
All right, that's all for this week, and we'll see you at the rink.
The opposite was very strong. I was good.
Siam Hockey League News is brought to you by Big Chili Magazine, the best read expat lifestyle and news magazine in Thailand. It covers interesting issues in Bangkok and the region while bringing its readers engaging stories and various exclusive interviews, food reviews, and more. You can find the Big Chili magazine in bookstores and online at thebigchili.com. The music for the opening and ending credits are brought to you by DJ Caucasian.